Thank you for joining me for yet another conversation. It's important to talk about a lot of the things that go on in our lives, whether they're fun events, whether they're political in nature, or things that there's a drive for change for the betterment of all. Uh, One of my favorite people to have said discussions with is a gentleman who I have many names for him. He almost reminds me of the Apollo Creed of, when Apollo Creed came out of Rocky, he had a long list of names. And the latest one I've given him, although I feel I share a little bit of it, is the King of Conversation. He is an Emmy Award-winning documentarian, already in the middle, thrust into yet another production. But he's here to talk a little bit about the recent chain of events that we have had happen in Wisconsin. We have Noube Rateau, who is joining us. Noube, welcome to the conversation, my friend.
Kevin, thanks for coming, for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to be on and talk to you about some controversial topics. Definitely, gives me a chance to kind of give my opinion and hear different perspectives from yourself and from different viewers.
Knowing that you and I actually had an engaging conversation with retired and current police officers in regards to what happened with George Floyd, here we are just a few short months since that with an incident that took place with Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. Now, this individual did not die, but he's paralyzed. And people are asking, what's going on? Has any of the conversations, any of the movement that was active, and not just in one state, not just in one city, not just in the United States, but it was a global movement. Is this a setback?
I think everything's on a case-by-case basis. Is it a setback? Yeah, but I'd say a setback is a setup for a comeback. So it is a bit of a setback in terms of, maybe emotionally and how people feel about police officer shootings, but I think we're going to have police officer shootings. This is not the last that's going to happen, okay? We're going to have more, unfortunately, white officers shooting black men, and some of it's going to be justified. But what I think is different going forward now in 2020, or what I'm seeing is there's now zero tolerance for this in a sense where the DA and the police chief are really they're really forced to give my answers quickly, and because the public want answers quickly. And I think when you do that, Kevin, is that one thing I was talking to Commissioner Gross is when there's an officer involved with shooting, the information needs to come out immediately, because if it is not, you have theories that will develop. Some of those theories are untrue. But those theories will become an avalanche, cause riots, cause anger, and cause protests. Rather than getting in front of it immediately, okay, and try to quell, for example, Mike Brown, hands up, don't shoot. No one really knew if that happened. But Ferguson was so slow, and the DA's office was so slow in terms of putting out the information, a narrative happened. Okay, and it blew up into massive riots and things like that. If you don't immediately tell the information, that's what happened in Minnesota too. It happened a little quicker though in terms of, the officer getting fired and stuff. I think people are now learning that decisions need to be made a lot quicker. Look at Breonna Taylor. Look at what's going on over there. And that's what's causing it. If the information is not being fed to the public on a consistent basis and being transparent, you're going to get these angry riots all the time. I think they're getting better at that, but there are some setbacks. But I think overall, the information needs to come out immediately. And I know you want to talk about the NBA boycott, but what the boycott did was within, I think, an hour and a half of the boycott, there was a press conference. So kind of worked.
But it wasn't just the NBA. I feel that other professional sports leagues, teams, all took a role in it. The National Hockey League said, yeah, we're gonna suspend games. Major League Baseball, they suspended games. Even NFL training camps actually were put on pause so that there could be a discussion, because I saw interviews where there were players who were dejected, who felt as though all that they had been trying to do, or what they have been trying to do to try to move this forward, seemed to have suffered somewhat of a setback.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and the Milwaukee Bucks, I think, were crucial that they're the first ones to do it because it was their home state. It looks like, they're about 40 miles away from Milwaukee. So it was important for them to kind of step up. In terms of it being a setback, of course it is. We're going to have setbacks. That's life. Okay, there's going to be a setback. Like I said before, it's about what your plan is in place. And here's where I think we're messing up right now. I don't think our leaders, from our president down to our local leaders, are not doing a good enough job of empathizing with the Black community. Okay, it's very us against them. Okay, and it's us against police officers. That's not the case. I think the president, one mark that he's missing, and I've been able to give the president credit when he deserves when it comes to criminal justice and making different laws and that, and signing different bills that would make better policing. But one thing he's really missed the ball on is every president has a moment. You have a 9/11 moment. You have a Boston bombing moment. Everyone has a moment where they bring the country together. He's never had that moment. There's been events, but he's never had the moment where he's been on prime time and brought the country, or have attempted to bring the country together. And I think that severe lack of leadership on the federal level has trickled down to the state and local level. I mean, we've seen it with this policing. We've seen it with coronavirus, where no one really knows what they're doing. And this is where leadership is so important. You could create great legislation and create laws and have a great economy, but words matter. And I think that's what African Americans are really struggling with, is that they don't feel like there's empathy, even on the local level. I think there's some local politicians who are running for state rep and state senator and so forth, who are not doing a good job empathizing with the Black community. And you don't need to necessarily agree with us, but like Bill Clinton says, I feel your pain. And I'm not sure if everyone's doing that. And I think it starts from the top.
Do you feel that it resonates with one political party or the other? Or do you feel that in today's day and age, that there is a severe void when it comes to bona fide leadership?
I think there's a severe void, and I'm talking about on the Democratic side and Republican side. I think a lot of this is political. I think, when it comes to a police-involved shooting, everyone's so quick to, make, to say, oh, it's a color thing, it's this, that, and the other. Everything needs to be on a case-by-case basis. But perception is reality. Here's the perception. White guy kills Black cop. White guy kills 2 people, gets arrested. That's what it is. Okay? Now we could talk about the justification and all this other stuff, but it's just another case. So my perception as a Black man is that, man, no one really cares about me. Okay? Listen, perception is your reality. That's where information needs to come out immediately. Information needs to come out immediately. No one knows about this person who shot 2 people and who came from Illinois to Wisconsin. No one really knows much about him. People are saying he might have been a police cadet. He was defending himself. The information is so coming out. You get narratives and theories that develop, and you get anger, and you get things like boycotts. Information is to come out immediately. Not all information, but something to say, okay, I understand this, that, and the other. It's a setback, but I think we're overall going in the right direction. But the one thing we're missing, I'm seeing it from George Floyd to now, and I'm seeing it's a little more glaring. we're missing a lack of leadership from the federal level all the way down to the state level. It's either you're for the police unions or, you know, you're for Black Lives Matter. And there's no one that says, you know, I empathize. I can see how a police officer could be upset, okay? And that whole flag situation, I think it's a whole bunch of baloney too, because if a firefighter or what have you wants to show respect and show, you know, support to a police officer, and they can't do it, then take down every Black Lives Matter sign I'm seeing out on people's yards or on the businesses or on the courts. You gotta be fair.
Okay. What's interesting is what we're experiencing now is happening nearly, well, around close to 57 years to the date when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Had his march on Washington for jobs and freedom, and this is when he delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech. What do you think the good doctor would say? And I know this is, you know, it's rhetorical, me asking you this, but do you feel that the good doctor would feel that we have made progress, or would you feel that he thought that we were, you know, it's still a work in progress?
I think he'd be happy with the progress we've made, and I don't think he'd be satisfied. I don't think he'd be happy with the riots and looting. You know, he was a man who protested peacefully. I think he'd be incredibly proud of the NBA players, because that's a protest that worked and was immediate change. Immediately, the NBA arenas decided that they're going to have voting locations in their arenas. Immediately, there was a social justice coalition that they developed in the NBA. Immediately, the Milwaukee, I'm forgetting the town where the incident happened, Kenosha.
Yep.
Yep. Immediately, there was a press conference. So that boycott was very effective by the NBA. I think he'd be very proud of that. But again, there needs to be a strategic, these shootings are going to happen, but there needs to be a strategic plan, a national plan, national body cameras, and national plan about what happens next. And we're still struggling with that. Okay, the fact that there's no body cameras nationwide is embarrassing. I think that's a natural progression to have body cameras. Okay, and the police unions need to get the hell out the way, because they're a big problem with that. Okay, the unions in a lot of places, to be quite frank with you, need to get the hell out of the way. Okay, we've seen the coronavirus, and we'll just leave it there. Okay, there's a lot of problems going on with different areas in our country that the unions need to get the hell out the way. They do some good things, but they're doing some bad things right now, slowing down a lot of things. And this police body camera thing, they need to get the hell out the way.
You know, digressing back to the protests and the step back in playing games by different sports leagues, was there any players in particular that you were proud of, and you know, who through the press we've heard, you know, wanted to see certain actions taken? There was even a conversation about not, you know, leaving the bubble, the NBA leaving the bubble, and just quitting the season. What's some of the reports that you've read that made you proud of maybe some players who showed their leadership quality?
I think Giannis Antetokounmpo was huge, because if he doesn't decide to boycott in the situations in his home state, then I don't think anyone's going to boycott.
Okay,
that took some balls right there. Okay. In terms of leaving the bubble, I think people are talking about that. No, the reason why you stay in the bubble is because you have a microphone and a voice. If they were to leave the bubble and not play the season, and this happened, and someone like George Hill said something, people would say, "Who's George Hill? Where's your ID? Like, who are you?" But now he's in the bubble, it's his microphone. "Oh, George Hill of so-and-so." So the bubble gives you the leverage of negotiating. We're not playing, okay, we are going to play. We want this and that. If you're not playing, you have no leverage, other than, you know, maybe you're LeBron James. But if you're the sixth guy on the bench, if you're Kelly Olynyk, or if you're, you know, Brad Wanamaker, no one really cares about your opinion, to be quite frank with you. But if Brad Wanamaker has an opinion in the bubble, people will listen to him. Okay? So I think, you know, the bubble works, you know, as leverage. I think Giannis stepped up. LeBron steps up, but I think LeBron sometimes he needs to think before he's. And LeBron, I think more than anyone, he, you know, he really puts his money where his mouth is with the school and social justice. But one thing I think LeBron doesn't do as well is he doesn't articulate his opinions well enough, and you know, he'll just spat out and say F this and F that. You're the leader, okay, of the NBA. You're the best player in the world. Sometimes I think he just has to think. I think his heart's in the right place, but I don't think it comes off as very professional. And
is it emotion based? Is it emotion based?
I mean, it's similar to the whole Donald Trump thing. Like, you know, when you tweet just based off emotion, you look like a moron. And LeBron, when he tweets things, you look like kind of like an idiot sometimes, even though his heart's in the right place. I think you got to think about what you're saying and have a plan. And when he actually puts action into plan, it's an excellent job. I mean, he's done great work. I'm a big fan of LeBron James, but I think sometimes when he tweets things out, it doesn't make much sense what he's doing. So I think he has to be more strategic. Everything needs to have a plan. You can't jump without a parachute.
As we wrap up this conversation with you, Noube Rateau, who has been our guest for this segment, what would you want to say in closing? And I know this is just one chapter in many that you and I will traverse together. What would you like to say as we wrap this up?
Now more than ever, and I'm glad the NBA, and I was watching Cedric Maxwell say this, the NBA players have different names behind their jerseys. Yep. I think what they should have done in hindsight is had one unified phrase. You know, maybe it's, and I personally think it should be vote. The play needs to be unified. I see education reform, Black Lives Matter, all this other stuff. You know, maybe there should be one unified purpose. We're going to get there, but elections matter, and they matter big time. I'm seeing it on the local, state, and federal level that there's people that don't really give a damn. I'm upset at police officers who are so goddamn sensitive, okay, and not empathizing with the anger. What police officers do, they're heroes, and everyone knows that. But for gosh darn it, you were not pressured to be a police officer. You signed up for it. You know what you're getting into. And we pray every day that you come out healthy, safe, because they do great work. But the crying and the complete, I'm trying to use the right word, the lack of empathy to how people feel is it's almost translating to anger, you know, and I think that needs to stop. And the police unions need to get out the way and let some reforms happen. I think a good reform that would make everyone happy is body cameras. 9 times out of 10, when a police officer pulls someone over or gets called, 9 times out of 10, they're right. So why not have the camera on? They're mostly right when they pull you over. I mean, they're not lying most of the time. So let's just do the right thing. Police unions, get out the way. Let's put the body cameras in.
There is Noube Rateau joining us for this segment. We thank you, Noube, and we thank you for tuning in for this segment.